Hey, welcome to my table. My name is Daniel Stoneball. I'm just a guy who's identified how loved and adored I am by God. It's my passion and my purpose to help everyone I meet understand their place of value and worth, the kingdom of God, and to his heart. I love what I do. I love this. And one of the ways God's allowed me to do this passion is to write a book called Solomon's Song. It's a 90-day devotional, and it takes the Song of Solomon verse by verse, and it breaks it down into 90 individual love letters from the king. And it's a restorative agent. It's a catalyst of change within our hearts to understand God's love for us. I truly believe you can only give away what you understand that you have. And if you understand a level of love of God that's less than what it is, then you're giving a level of love away to others that is less than what you are able to give. I believe we accept the levels of love that we feel we deserve. And so the value of a study like this is because it breaks down those mindsets and it puts it down on the bottom shelf. So thank you for being with me at my table and for going through these videos with me. We are on day number 28 of our 90-day devotional, and a couple things have changed here. You're going to see a cycle, and we'll get into that in just a second here. But we're in Song of Solomon chapter 3 now, verse number 1, and so there's 8 chapters, so we're pretty steadily creeping through the book, and I love it so far, and it's a journey. And you may look at up to this point in this journey, and you may say, well, I don't know that I really believe everything that you talked about. I don't believe I've really accepted that, and that's fine. It may be difficult to accept that. A lot of times we view God the same way we view a parent. And if my parents were abusive, then I look at God as abusive. If my parents were absent, I look at God as absent. And it's amazing to me that this is a journey. You know, this girl is going on this journey with the king, and by the time we get to chapter number 8, she's a completely different woman than she is in chapter number 1. And by the time you and I get farther along in our journey, we're going to find that the mindsets that we used to hold to about God even 5, 10 years ago, we don't even hold those anymore, because that love has deepened and it's matured, and we've gotten a chance to learn more about him. And so don't feel odd or awkward if you say, well, I just don't, you get really worked up about the stuff and you're really excited about it, and I'm just not. It doesn't do anything. It does nothing for me, Daniel. That's okay. It doesn't have to. Just give it a chance and go through the journey with us, and let's keep rolling. So day number 28, and the title of this devotional is called You Have Got to Get Up to Get What You Want. You got to get up to get what you want. I love this verse, and now she's speaking about the king. And she says this, he's no longer with her. She says, by night, on my bed, I sought him whom my soul loveth. I sought him, but I found him not. They were out walking. If you remember the videos, they were taking this walk, and they were communication, expression, and rest. Now, something has happened between that walk and this moment where she wakes up in bed and feels over to the spot where he was. He's no longer there. That means he came to bed with her. I mean, we're just be honest with you. It just communication, love was communicated, and then there was expression that followed that, and there was a period of resting, and intimacy was expressed there. And so she wakes up the next morning, and she reaches over for him in the middle of the night. Even it's still dark out, obviously, and she's reaching over into the spot of the bed where he would have been sleeping, and she said, I sought him whom my soul loveth. I sought him means I desired him, I wanted him, and she reached over for him, and he wasn't there, and she's patting the sheets and the pillows, and it smells like the king. It's got that scent of Solomon has been there. There's no doubt about it. He was there with her body. She can feel his hands. She can feel his body, and in her mind, when she closed her eyes, it was just that recent that she was there. She said, my soul wanted him. I wanted him when I woke up, but I found him not. And the bride is looking for the king, but she's not going to find him there. In fact, she's not going to find Solomon until she's willing to leave her position of comfort. Solomon moved throughout the kingdom. He wasn't very seldom stationary. There was a lot on his shoulders. There was a lot of responsibility that he carried, and so he was moving constantly throughout the kingdom. He was constantly checking things, examining aspects and borders and those types of things. He was very vigilant about what he was given. He's a wise steward of what he had. He's a writer. He was a thinker. He would get up in the middle of the night. He would write the Proverbs. He would speak from his heart those things. He communicated with God. He had a relationship with God. And so it wasn't going to find Solomon on the couch watching Netflix. He just wasn't there. He was busy about living life to the most productive value point that there was. And that to me is exciting on a whole nother level to look at, and we'll see that later on. But just know for right now, she was looking for him. She woke up and she reached for her love just to find him absent. Let me just say, if you've ever, in your Christian experience, if you ever went through a season where you felt like God was not there, you know, there's a sense of loss that happens when God's silent. He's like he's the invisible man, and he appears to have disappeared, and he's just not there in your life. And he's, let me just say, God is always not always found where life is comfortable. You know, we all want to experience God, and we want to experience Him in our daily life, but a lot of times you won't experience that kingdom experience that you're looking for in a place of comfort. You have to be willing to step out of the confines of your comfort zone in order to experience God, in order to see Him moving. You get in the routine. We're creatures of routine, man. We get up and we drink the same brand of coffee. We drink at the same time. We drive the same routes to work. We do the same types of things. We have the same set clothes that we gravitate towards. We have a whole closet full of them, but we only wear the same 5 shirts. We drink out of the same coffee mugs. I have coffee mugs. I love to drink out of different coffee mugs, but we get in habits. Even these are a habit, you know. You're going to cycle through them as you go, you know, but He's not always found. God's not always found where life is comfortable. I remember driving to work one day, and I stopped at a gas station. And this guy pulls up behind me in this car, and he gets out and he comes and he asks me for, you know, some money for gas. And I pulled out, reached in my pocket, and I rarely carry cash, but I pulled out, I had like $7, and I was like, well, I've got $7. How much do you need? He's like, I need $7. I said, well, what a coincidence. You need exactly the amount that I got. And I'm like, okay, yeah. And so I said, what else do you need? You know, that's the end of the story, right? You give someone money just to get away from them, but what more can they do? You know, it's like, what else do you need? And he said, what? I said, what else do you need? He kind of walks back to me and he says, look, man, I don't want any trouble. I said, no, seriously. I said, what else do you need? You needed gas, and you were out of gas. You happen to need $7 worth of gas. I gave you $7 because that's what I have. What else do you need? He said, I need a job. I said, you need a job, okay. Told me his name was Henry. I said, Henry, what do you know how to do? What are you good at? What do you know to do? He says, I had a job working as a pipe fitter. He said, I lost it due to some things on my decisions I made. He said, but I missed that job. It was a good job. It took care of me. He said, I need a job as a pipe fitter. I said, well, Henry, do you believe that God would give you a job as a pipe fitter if you asked Him? And he's like, well, I guess. I said, well, Henry, you needed $7. You didn't even ask God for that, but He knew it, and He gave you $7. You needed money, Henry, and you got money. So how much more difficult is it for God to give you a job if you really need that? I said, would you mind if I prayed over you? He said, well, no, I guess not. So I took his hand in my hand, and I put my other hand on his shoulder. Henry takes off his ball cap, and we start praying for Henry to get a job. Right there at the gas station, cars are coming in and out. We're praying beside my car for Henry to get a job. And as I'm praying, I got this picture in my mind of this little guy. He's getting yelled at by this big dude. I mean, he's just hollering at him. This little boy's just crying. And this picture is in my head as I'm praying for Henry. And then all of a sudden it was like, this is Henry. And I started speaking against the lies that whoever that person was had placed on Henry. I began speaking against that, you know, and say, you know, this is Henry has believed a lie about himself. Someone he loved and trusted told him something, and he has believed that, and Henry has accepted that. And he's based decisions in his life on what he has heard and accepted as truth from somebody who had no right to say that to him. And as I began to pray for Henry, man, his body just began to shake. Man, and we're sitting there talking, and I'm breaking that lie over Henry. We broke it in Jesus' name. And Henry gets out of the car, man. He gets his gas and he leaves, and he comes back around. He says, thank you. Thank you. He said, God was here, man. God was here. He drives off. Comes back around the car. Man, God was here. He drives off. Now, Henry may be playing a game from gas station to gas station. It's not my, I don't need to discern that. We get too caught up in discerning whether, and trying to see, what will they use that money for? Jesus didn't say, if any man asks you, give only if he'll use it for moral purposes. He just said, if somebody asks you, give, because it wasn't about what they did with the money. It was, where's your heart when somebody else is happy asking you? Because of sin, the love of many waxes cold. He said, look, I'm not asking you to cross-examine the witness. If you feel like God wants you to take that person and buy them food, then do that. If you feel like God wants you to buy them groceries, do that. I'm not against it. The truth is, it's like, where's your heart? And so he drove off. And if he continued to play a game, the fact is that Henry will forever remember a time at a gas station where something happened to him, where God showed off. That was not comfortable to pray with someone like that. It never is. But the truth is, that's where God is. God is in the places that are not comfortable. And if you don't feel like you experience the King, you say, I'm waking up in a bed of memory here, so to speak. I have all these times in my life where I remember my time with the King, and I remember the things that we used to do together. I remember that passion I used to have with God. I remember how I used to cry and weep. I remember how I used to lift my hands during worship. I remember how I used to really enjoy the things of God. I remember I used to be gravitated to that quiet times. I used to look forward to devotionals, and I used to do them. I used to write in journals, and I used to be really close with God, but we don't, not so much anymore. I kind of feel like he's distant, and you feel like the bride. You're waking up and you're touching the bed, and you're saying it's still warm in some places. Like, he was still here. And man, the best days of your spiritual life should not be 5 years ago. They shouldn't be 12 years ago. They shouldn't have been when you were at high school camp. The best years of your life with God should be today. And man, if you're sitting there, don't be content to have the memories of what God used to do and the relationship levels that you used to experience with the King of Kings. Don't be content to say, man, I remember when God used to speak to my heart. Man, if he's not speaking, then I need to get up and move, and I need to get up and be willing to leave this comfort zone that I establish as my routines and rituals and step out of those, because the experience of the King is worth more than the comfort that I have with his memory. Man, the sheets were warm. It smelled like the King. Her body tingled. But she wasn't content to have a scent of the King. She wasn't content to have warm sheets. She wasn't content to have a tingling sensation. She didn't get in the relationship to just get to a point in a relationship where all she would do is just be content with what she used to have. She said, this doesn't feel right. This doesn't compare. This is nice. The bed is warm. It's comfortable. I love the feeling. I love the memories. But I really want the King. And so now she's going to make a decision about what to do when she leaves that place of comfort. So God is not always found where life is comfortable. Engaging him means being willing to step out of a place of what's familiar and comfortable. And let me just say this, we should always be willing to leave what's familiar for what's true. You should always be willing to leave what is familiar to pursue what is true. You cannot stay where it's only comfortable for us and hope to experience God in our life. And I remember as a teenager listening to people in the church talk about their walk with God, these older senior saints, and I remember sitting there going, I don't want that anymore. I don't want to hear about this. I'm tired of hearing about someone else's walk with God. I want that for myself. I'm tired of hearing some guest preacher come in and tell these fantastic stories about God showing up at a gas station. I want that for me. But I couldn't get that playing Xbox. And I couldn't get that watching Netflix. And you can't get that by only being around the people that make you feel the best about yourself. Only being around people that don't need anything from you. You can't experience the heart of the King when you avoid everything about the kingdom. We want to stay in that place of relationship, but man, there's more to a relationship than the bedroom. There's a kitchen, and there's a front room, and there's a garden, and there's all kinds of stuff. Man, there's more to life with God than just that reading through that devotion. I'm not knocking devotionals. We're talking about one. I'm saying that place of comfort that we establish. So here's my question. Because God is often found in what's unfamiliar. The question for our devotional today is, what are some areas of life where God has disrupted your comfort zone? What are some areas of your life where God has disrupted your comfort zone? And would there be any areas where you would be hesitant for God to change? When you think of your life, like it's packaged here, which areas would you say, don't mess with this, and this? Touch all of this, but down there, that's just not. What areas of life are you like this with God? Just leave this one alone, because I'm fine with all this. Like, just don't bother this. Do you want him or not? Do you want the King or not? If you do, he's out there. Ask, seek, and knock. And he's there for you, and he's wanting to experience relationship with you. Thanks so much for being with me today. We're going to call that we started chapter 3 with our devotional today. And this girl is faced with a choice. We're going to leave her now in the story with this choice where she's looking, do I go after the man or do I be content with the memory? And we're going to see what she chooses to do coming up in the next video. And when you see this response, it may challenge you. It may hurt. It may kick you a little bit. It may kick me a little bit to say how I respond and how you respond when we're faced with that choice. The man or the memory. Which one do we want? Thank you so much for being with me today. I hope you have a fantastic day today, and we will talk to you later. Bye-bye.